A couple of weeks ago, I got the opportunity to present at the MaxDOT Conference and Expo in Woodstock, Illinois. And I did something a little bit different. It's a tech conference, and usually I do software demos and screencasts and things like that. But one of the themes was creativity. And I remembered me when I was at that conference 6 years ago, sitting next to people like Don McAllister and a bunch of people who were running podcasts and doing things that I wanted to do. And I felt kind of like I didn't have the ability to do what these people were doing. And over the years, I've overcome that resistance. I've studied creativity. I've practiced it. I've published thousands of podcast episodes, hundreds of videos and screencasts, probably thousands of articles. And today I want to share with you a condensed version of that talk and my 42 best creativity tips to help you overcome the resistance and make your art. Why 42? Obviously, because it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Number 1, you will be bad at the beginning. This is a picture of my first sketch note. And if you look at my sketch notes now, you can see how far that I've come. This is basically a stick figure and a bunch of words. But everybody has to start somewhere. And the idea behind sketchnoting is ideas, not art, as Mike Rohde talks about in the Sketchnote workbook. So the important thing with sketch notes, I realized, was just to get started, and this applies to every creative endeavor. Just make your thing at the beginning and don't worry about the quality. Number 2, you will get better. This is a sketch note I did from the Focus Course Live in 2019 when I got to go to Kansas City and attend this with the Blanc media team. And you can see the improvement from the first one. This same process happens no matter what the medium. I've seen this with my podcast, with my screencast, with the articles that I write. The first ones are bad, and I just keep doing it enough. Eventually, it gets better. Number 3, quantity produces quality. The people who make great art aren't the ones who are born with the most natural talent. They just put in enough reps. They've learned through that repetition. You don't have to catch lightning in a bottle. You just need to keep getting better. If you ship consistently, then the quality will come. Number 4, steal like an artist. Don't deny your influences. Austin Kleon in the book Steal Like an Artist says that it is your job to collect good ideas, and the more good ideas that you collect, the more you can choose from them to be influenced by. Number 5, create every day. This is super important. Show up every day, whether you feel like it or not. It's that consistency that leverages the compound effect and creates the improvement and the quality that you're after. Number 6, never skip the cultivate phase. I have this concept that I teach called the 5 C's of creativity, or the creativity flywheel. And it's capture, curate, cultivate, connect, and create. The cultivate phase is where you develop the idea. So once you capture something, you have to spend some time thinking about it in order to recognize what is really there. And it's always tempting to skip this phase, especially when you have a good idea that you want to take action on right away. And I've made this mistake over and over again myself. I encourage you, though, to spend time cultivating because it is a worthwhile investment. I estimate that every hour that I spend cultivating an idea for an article or a video like this one, for example, if I flesh it out in a mind map first, saves me 2 hours when I sit down to actually create the thing. Number 7, start where you are with what you have. There's a story from The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan about the momentum that's created when you knock over a line of dominoes. And that first domino, if it's only 2 inches tall, a normal domino, the next domino that it can knock over is actually up to 50% larger. So if you carry out that chain, the bigger and bigger dominoes create some pretty significant results. By the 18th domino, you've got one that's 183 feet tall, the same as the Tower of Pisa. The 23rd, the Eiffel Tower, 1,063 feet. 31st is as high as Mount Everest, 29,028 feet. And the 57th domino in that chain, if you continued this thought experiment, will go all the way to the moon, 238,855 miles. So big results can happen from small beginnings. Don't despise those small beginnings, it says in the Bible. Just start where you are with what you have and build some momentum. Number 8, teach what you know. What's obvious to you is not obvious to someone else. Don't compare what you know with what someone else knows, because then it's easy to discredit what you know because they're the expert. But there is somebody in your life that you can help. And what you want to do is you want to teach and create For you from 2 years ago, think about all the things that you know now that you wish you would have known a couple of years ago, and then create things to help that person along their journey. Number 9, embrace constraints. I like to play music. I've got a guitar on the wall behind me, but there are only 12 notes in the musical scale. And when you're playing with other people, constraints are even more important because you agree on the tempo, you agree on the key, and the elimination of options actually is the thing that allows you to be more creative. Number 10, connect the dots. One of the biggest things I've learned about creativity is that it's a formula, and you don't need to judge the output. If you want to improve the output, you can collect better dots, you can improve the input, or you can follow a better process. And one of the ways that you can improve the process is to use templates. This isn't cheating, this is actually embracing the constraints that we talked about in the previous tip. Number 11, be a river, not a reservoir. A river has an input and an output, and your PKM or personal knowledge management system should do the same thing. You should collect things, have an input, but then you should create things and have an output. If you don't have the output, then it changes into a reservoir. And a reservoir that's unattended, if there continually is no output, eventually becomes a cesspool. Number 12, creativity is an action, not a feeling. You likely won't feel like creating every day, but do it anyways. Creators are creators because they create, not because they feel like creating. They face the resistance every single day, just like you and I do. Number 13, slay the dragons. Stephen Pressfield talks about this idea called the resistance in his phenomenal book, The War of Art. And he shares a lot of examples of what the resistance will tell you. Things like, you can't do it, why even try? Somebody else has done it better than you. And what I have learned is that when you show up every day and you put in the effort, you slay those dragons because the voice of that resistance is always louder in your head. Number 14, face your fear. I still face fear every time I create something. It never goes away. But the good news is that fear does not have to paralyze you. Courage is simply recognizing the fear and showing up and taking action anyway. Number 15, go deeper. Don't settle for a surface level revelation when you get a good idea. Spend some time developing it. Get specific with it. Niche down as far as you can. Dig deep because that is where you'll find the really good stuff. Number 16, make noise, but listen for signal. This is why repetition is so important. You never know what's going to resonate with your audience. So create a bunch of stuff, get it out there, and see what people like. You never know what's going to land. Number 17, your vibe attracts your tribe. This is an idea I picked up from Ali Abdal in his part-time YouTuber Academy. I really like this though. Consider who you are creating for. Don't just make stuff because you want to make it. Think about the people that you want to attract. What type of community do you want to be a part of? And then as you create the things that are going to attract that tribe, remember to be authentic because people can tell when you're faking it. Number 18, get in nature. You will think more creatively if you get around some water or some trees. There's a trail not far from my house that I like to walk, and I have written so many course scripts and developed so many ideas while on a walk on that trail, which goes through the woods and right next to the river. It's one of my favorite ways to develop an idea. Number 19, you need a direction, not a plan. You don't need a blueprint. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to show up every day and take the first step and know the direction that you are supposed to go. Know the next thing and do that, and don't worry about what's 6 months out, 10 years out. Just show up and take the next step that's in front of you. Number 20, you are not your art. Separate your identity from what you actually make. This was something I struggled with for a long time because I didn't want to make something and have it be wrong and someone pointed out several years later. Well, I know that the things that I made and the things that I've thought about, the ideas I had a couple years ago, I've changed my mind on a lot of things. I give myself permission to do that. And your art is simply a snapshot of how you are thinking at a certain point. Recognize that you're always changing, you're always learning, you're always growing, and give yourself permission to change your mind about things. Number 21, get a different perspective. It can help to look at things from different ways. And this is why I like the bidirectional links in Obsidian, because sometimes I just want to surf through the notes that I've collected. And by surfing through those connections in the local graph, I can create some additional inspiration and some additional connections on things that are 3 or 4 levels removed. And that is always exciting to me when I do that. And it usually helps fill in some blanks for this idea that I've been kicking around or some concept I've been trying to figure out for myself. Number 22, slow down. When you give your brain time to think, it's actually pretty brilliant at coming up with new ideas. Keith Cunningham in The Road Less Stupid said, I don't need to do more smart things. I need to do less dumb things. And when you slow down and give your brain time to untangle things and you remove the urgency from the ideas that you've captured and developed, that's when you recognize the really good ones. Number 23, look for the impasse. I picked this one up from talking to Chris Bailey, the author of Hyperfocus and the Productivity Project. When he told me that when he's developing an idea for a book that he's writing, for example, he likes to work on them until he hits an impasse. And that's the point where he disconnects and goes for a walk. And almost every time that he does that, that's when the inspiration comes and he recognizes the next move. Number 24, consider your inputs. Remember, creativity is a system, so if you want good output, you need to have good inputs. Garbage in, garbage out. So focus on the things that will actually be helpful to you. Number 25, everything is a remix. You don't need to have this flash of lightning inspiration to get something completely original. The act of taking things that already exist and mashing them up into something new is creating. Number 26, we are all imposters. Everyone deals with imposter syndrome. That's just an indication that you care about the thing that you're making. The only people that don't deal with imposter syndrome are the ones who don't make anything. Number 27, just ship it. Don't wait until things are perfect. Shorten those feedback loops. Get it out. The shortest road to greatness is shipping things frequently. Number 28, find your hour. Find 1 hour per day to make your art. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where. Just find your hour. And an additional tip to protect the time for that hour, I recommend you put that on your calendar. Number 29, question everything. The things that make you uncomfortable are worth exploring. You want your brain to boldly go where it has not gone before and figure out what you think about things. Challenge yourself to think about the things that you think you already know. Keep asking yourself why. Don't avoid those tough questions, no matter how absurd they seem when you first have them. Number 30, avoid the crazymakers. Crazymakers are people who will try to keep you from creating. Julia Cameron talks about crazymakers in The Artist's Way. But other creatives who are feeling stuck are often the worst crazymakers. Number 31, share your story. People can argue facts, but no one can argue your story. You may not think your story is that impressive, but don't downplay your story. Share everything. Share your struggles as well as your victories. Those are the things that really resonate with people. Number 32, some people will dislike you. Now, the opposite of love is not hate. It's actually apathy or indifference. So if no one's telling you that they like or dislike what you're making, that's actually a bad thing. If you get people who dislike what you're doing, you're actually on the right track. Number 33, your true fans will love you. Those stronger negative reactions we just talked about will also elicit stronger positive reactions. So be okay not being for everyone. You can't please everyone. Focus on who you can help and make things for them. Number 34, look for different ways to package your ideas. This is one of the big things I've learned from Ship 30 for 30. You can look at things from different angles and you can make an entire creative career out of a single idea. Look for different ways to express those ideas that you have. Number 35, embrace the power of analog. Pen and paper force you to slow down and think. Computers are great for making things more efficient, but when it comes to creativity, often the limiting factor is usually not the technology. It's the quality of the ideas that we have, and only your brain can help you with those. Number 36, trust the process. Don't try to jump to the end. Don't look for shortcuts. Stay the course and be patient. Number 37, don't be a jerk. No one wants to work with or support a jerk. And the truth is that someone else doesn't have to be wrong in order for you to be right. Success is not a zero-sum game. You don't need to steal someone else's joy. Let someone else be successful in what they make. You focus on what you make. Do it to the best of your ability. Trust the process. The score will take care of itself. Number 38, play. Stay curious. Hold things lightly. Have fun with your ideas. When you play with something, it doesn't have to be productive. The goal is just to enjoy the process and to figure some things out along the way. Number 39, you don't have to go pro. We all get inspired by the stories of people who go indie and they do their art full time, but the truth is that that doesn't work for everybody, and you need to figure out what's the right mix for you. Number 40, follow your path. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to do what someone else has done. Figure out what your story is and be okay with it. Don't compare your timelines. The minute that you do that, you'll get frustrated that it's not happening as fast for you as it did for somebody else. Number 41, you don't have to pick just one thing. In the book, How to Be Everything, Emily Wapnick talks about the idea of a multi-potentialite, which is someone who does a whole bunch of different things and tries to fill 3 different buckets in their life: money, meaning, and variety. So figure out for yourself how you're going to fill those buckets, and don't look for one single thing to be the answer to all of those questions. Number 42, avoid comparison at all costs. Don't compare your art to anybody else's. You can't do what someone else does the same way that they do it, and that's okay. If you try, what's going to happen is you'll fail and you'll feel disingenuous. So just go make your thing to the best of your ability and don't worry about anyone else. So there you have it, my 42 best creativity tips to help you overcome the resistance, get unstuck, and make your art. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it. If you want more like this, you can sign up for my free newsletter, which goes out every couple of weeks. The link will be below in the description. And of course, I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe so that you get notified of new videos in the future.